Hey, our next guest has been a vital part of Norman Young Life for at least 25 of the 30 years. He's been involved with Young Life training. Trains all of our leaders. He trained me. He's the executive director at All Sports Association in Oklahoma City, and he's one of my best friends. Please welcome Mr. Tim Brassfield.
Hey now, you're an all-star. Get your game on, go play. And hey now, you're a rock star. Get the show on, get paid. And all that glitters is gold. Only shooting stars break the mold.
Did Elaine use it?
Yeah, that's for you.
Okay.
Elaine didn't get any. She is, yeah, she's self-lubricating in her mouth, so you're not. I know you cotton mouth quite a bit. Tim Brassfield, this is kind of fun, huh?
Very fun. What a night. Thanks. Great to be here.
Well, it took a lot of pull to get you here, so
Yes.
Thanks for doing that. Okay, so funniest Young Life moment, like when you think about all of the things that have happened in Young Life, what stands out to you the most?
Oh,
Because you were involved well before you were kind of helping out.
I got involved in, I became a Christian through Young Life at John Marshall High School. Went to Silver Cliff Ranch and on a Christmas ski trip and became a Christian through Young Life. So I've always loved the ministry and have been involved in it.
And Silver Cliff, just for people that don't know, Frontier and Buena Vista sits up on the hill, but before we owned Frontier, Silver Cliff was down that hill just below Frontier, and that's where you were at. Wow.
When we go to Trail West, we drive right by it.
Yeah.
It's still there. So
You get out and stop and pray again.
Yes, for sure. But that's how I first got involved, obviously, with Young Life. And then I became in 1989. Pete Johnson came to me and said, hey, we've got this thing in Young Life called Freshman Fellowship. I'd like for you to lead that. I said, and I really, at that time in life, needed someone to believe in me. And it meant so much that Pete did. And he asked me to lead that, and I began doing that. And in a semester's time, it became Young Life Training, because that's how we started. These were all freshmen who were not involved in Young Life, and so we began to train the leaders. And have done so ever since. So.
I mean, I was in your training class.
Yes, you were. That's one of the funny moments, right?
What was it?
You being in my training class.
I don't think that wasn't a compliment.
That wasn't, yeah.
I was in there. I saw a cute little blonde in there. I know that.
Yes, you did.
She wouldn't date me for like 4 years.
Do they know when you went to the next door neighbor's house in the Darth Vader costume? No. This guy, he'll do anything for money.
Yeah, I almost left.
I paid him $100 once just to walk into a party where he knew no one wearing Darth Vader.
Okay, let's move on.
Okay.
So anyway, okay, so tell me, when you think about the leaders that you've come in contact with, I said this earlier, and we were talking backstage in the green room, is that I think you have, obviously Mark and Elaine have been instrumental, they were there, but there's something about your involvement. You have had such a front row seat with volunteer leaders for all of these years. Burgett did club for many years with Norman High and was upstairs in the game room of the Primroses. But you were the one that consistently was meeting all of these new leaders that wanted to go through training and being with them, and still doing that to this day.
Yeah, and it was really Pete's vision to do that, and for some reason, again, he believed in me, and we began to start a process of just taking kids through kids, they really aren't kids, they're in college, but taking the students through a semester of training, and really the purpose there was, our number one purpose was to make sure they knew where they were with the Lord, that they understood what a relationship with Jesus was and how important that was before they go share it with high school and junior high kids. We wanted them to know that they absolutely understood where their salvation stood. And so that was a big part of it. And then we'd go into the 4 C's of Young Life, and we began to teach that. And so it was a full semester. So it was a commitment. For example, if you started in January, you did not get to become a leader till the following September. In Norman, so it was quite a commitment to do it. Now we change it; we do it in about a 6-week span. But anyway, blessed to do it and thankful.
Now, what would you say as you train all of these leaders? What's the thing that, and I didn't ask you this beforehand, so this is a pop quiz. The thing that you get most passionate about when you're talking about whether it's club or going where kids are through contact work, or when you really feel like I want to make sure they get this because it's a vital part of the Young Life mission. What usually is that?
Well, I think, first of all, I kind of said that. I want them to know that Jesus died for them and that they have an absolute understanding of that, and that relationship is not something that fades, but it's something that stays. And there's nothing that can take it away. Because when they're grounded in Him, then they're free to go out and share with the kids. And so that's number one. And of course, we love being around them. We love being around college students. We spend 3 nights a week at least with college students, and that's really where our heart beat is for Lindsay and I. And we love having them in our home. We love having them around our kids. So
I always say that kids gravitate to the oldest person in the room.
yeah, that's me.
And that's you. It's not me. I don't think I have a sound effect for that. Let's see if I do. Maybe like yeah, no.
No, most of the time that is true, though. When I go to Young Life College, that's me. So, and it is true. I just think that they're looking for an older adult to talk to them and that can relate with them. So we've been blessed to do it. Of course, my wife doesn't fit that category quite.
Yeah, we won't go into that.
There's a little bit of difference.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
Hey, one thing that I thought is really unique about your situation is you have been not only involved with training, but you've been a part of really working closely with almost every area director. We had Pete Johnson at the very beginning. He was the first area director hired. You guys remember Pete Johnson? Remember him? I won't tell him you said that.
He's probably on the Periscope, though.
You what?
He's probably on the Periscope watching.
Yo, he is. No, he's not. Let's see.
not
We're
there.
up to, oh, we dropped one.
That's when I came out.
Yeah, you came out. Elaine's gone. Click. And Pete Johnson, we had Ken Primrose was kind of an interim area director for a while, and then Gerald Garcia.
Gerald Taco Garcia.
Taco, which you officed with him a little bit.
I did office with him when we bought the building in 1996, when through some very kind and generous committee members found the building, and the Young Life building hasn't always been there, but we found it, and we moved in there, and it was basically a small church, and Gerald and I officed together, and he was right behind me, but Gerald didn't show up much, so he wasn't punching the clock. He officed at his home, and so
You want to say
really
this to his face?
Yeah, sure.
Because Gerald Taco Garcia is here. Give it up for him. Come on out, Gerald.
La 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 bamba. Some Spanish lyrics and some more Spanish lyrics. La 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 bamba.
Thank you.
Gerald Taco Garcia. Did you hear?
Thank you for making me feel at home.
Buenos dias. Oh, buenos noches.
We just wrote that.
Muchas gracias.
You just wrote it. Okay. Did you hear the lack of applause for Pete Johnson? That means we have turned over we have a new crew. How many of you guys remember Gerald Garcia? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so we were just saying before you came out that you guys officed together
Yeah, we did.
at the Young
That's
Life
right.
building.
That's right.
But Tim says you really weren't there.
I really wasn't there. I still don't have an office, so I understand.
I remember you officing out of your living room.
Out of my living room.
That's what kids they didn't know there was a Young Life office.
No, they
It was
didn't.
just Gerald and Donna's living room.
Yeah, the part of it is because the whole mentality was that I was hoping that we would end up seeing that our job was being hanging out with kids the whole time. And my wife and I came here right off the bat and said what we want to do is we saw the infrastructure that was awesome already in place, but we wanted to hang out with kids. And so we wanted to kind of challenge the leaders to do so. And so the first year we were here, we felt God saying, what we want to do is impact the community.
So you guys were you in Duncanville at the time?
Yeah, we were living in Duncanville. In fact, we were after Pete left. Pete and I went to high school together, so we have a lot of history there. So it's interesting that no one knows him, so that's good. But the point is that when he was there, after he left, Kim Talley asked me to come up here and interview or to look at it. My wife and I drove straight up here one year, and we got off Lindsley, we'd turn around, and we went back and went straight back into Duncanville. We said, no, this isn't our time. We're not supposed to live here.
You exited Lindsay
Yeah.
to come interview, and you turned
A year
around and went
before.
home.
Then when we came in a year later, and they asked us to come back. Yes. Yeah. And what happened, we ended up exiting Lindsay again, and I said, God, I turned to my wife, I said, I feel like God's telling us we need to move.
A year later.
A year, exactly a calendar year later. And all of a sudden, the first months that we were here, we started all these hanging out with a bunch of kids, and we started realizing, hey, everything's in place, leaders, kids, everything, but what we wanted to reach was a different crowd. And so we kind of started challenging the leaders. Hey, we want you to go and hang out with the kids that would never think about hanging out with the kids that would never think about darkening the door of a church. So they started hanging out with all these kids, and all of a sudden, we started seeing a whole different crowd. Kids that would come into club, and they're the ones that were stoned in club. And I think it kind of caught the leaders off guard a little bit, but what ended up happening is a few years later, all the leaders started catching this vision. And it was through a bunch of little high school kids like Tracy and Eric Von Bargen and all these kids that I could think of, Jake Tiffany, I can go on and on of these kids that we hung out with, that all of a sudden they went to camp and they came to Christ. And they're the ones who came back and challenged all the college leaders. And because I said, how many kids do you want to see come to know Jesus this year in a campaigner club? And they said, we want to see 1,000 kids come to know the Lord. And so it was at the time of the WWJD places came on, and all of a sudden we challenged the high school kids to share Jesus and all the college kids to do the same. And all of a sudden this revival started taking place. In the middle schools, I remember going to seeing the middle school with Abby and B-Rob and all these people, and all of a sudden after club we'd ask, is there anybody that wants to know Christ? And these middle school kids would go to this back of this room, and we would literally share Jesus. We'd see 75 kids at a time. And the high school the same way. And we got to give over 1,000 of those bracelets away. We only gave them to kids that trusted Christ. And so it was a real honor to be a part of that era in that time.
And it was amazing. I mean, there was dramatic growth in a short amount of time. When you got here, I remember you came in kind of like a wrecking ball. I called you the arrogant Hispanic guy. Like, who is this guy coming into our town? And you and I had some intense fellowship. We didn't fight, but I remember you saying. You were saying, look, this leadership has become like a glorified youth group, and we're ministers of the gospel. And I remember you saying that some people couldn't go to leader. You just were coming in to bring a fresh. We had been without an area director for at least a year after Ken left, and you brought it in. And I remember getting off the phone with you after you told me what your heartbeat was and what your desire was, and I hung up the phone. I thought, I will follow him anywhere. And we saw incredible growth over the years. In fact, I think when I was talking to you on the phone, I kind of looked like this. Look at that little picture right there, huh? Wow. There's little Gerald and little Scott. Yeah. Somebody commented on my shirt. I was like, what's going on with my shirt? And then look at this. Look at these two kids, huh?
Those were our kids. They grew up here. They ended up coming to school here for a while, too, so it was awesome.
I remember that they would be at leadership, and they just fall asleep right there in Burgett's back room.
That's awesome. What a blessing. Thank you for
I'd have them autograph it? So what was it about Young Life in Norman that as you guys left that you hoped stayed, that you wanted, I want this to stick?
You think about all the people that have been here. I was just telling Tracy, it's going to be really hard for me. The last time we moved away from here, it was emotional. It's even more emotional, even up here again, because God blessed that time for us. And he blessed the people for all of us that were a part of that. I just think there's special moments in history, in places that we're at in all our lives, that God kind of just freeze phrases them. And I think it's like he takes this huge picture in heaven. He throws it up there on his refrigerator, and he says, this is the moment that you got to experience me. Mm-hmm. And so I look at those moments in those years, and I go, yeah, God was pleased. We didn't go through the motions. We didn't exist. We lived those moments. And so I look at that, and that's what I was hoping for, is when we left, that carryover of the idea that it's radically chasing after high school and middle school kids. Mm-hmm. That's what it's all about. There isn't anything else in that, because if we don't reach them, no one else will. I mean, it's just the top. It's just typical of what we know in our generation today. So.
True. Totally believe that. Well, thank you, Gerald, for coming down, for making the trip up here. And Donna, love that y'all are here. And thanks for your investment in Young Life in Norman all these years. Tim, I'll see you tomorrow night. Some Young Life thing we're doing. Hey, guys, give it up for Gerald Garcia and Tim Brassfield. We'll be right back in a minute.